Okay, we'll start with our next student, Soleil Ruiz.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Soleil, and I decided to write my senior thesis in support of traditional womanhood. Here's why. I often get asked a question that maybe shouldn't make me as sheepish as it does. Between a toddler and high school age, nearly every person is questioned about their optimistically lucrative future and how many years of college debt it'll take to pay for it. And since there are many flashy, fashionable life callings that any average child could wish on, you often find the expected answer to be along the lines of engineer, astronaut, pilot, doctor, veterinarian, movie star, singer, dancer, or even the President of the United States. Sounds believable when a bright-eyed innocent tells you it's their big dream. But what do you want to be when you grow up bother me so much? And how could that spur me into writing a 15-page thesis paper about it? Well, it turns out my own dream job has become quite controversial as of late and receives a lot of notoriety for the wrong reasons. Birmingham City University School of Education and Social Work has written an article about the harms of gender stereotypes and traditional roles, which say, quote, "If we impose rigid ideas of masculinity and femininity on children, we limit their potential and actually cause real harm in later life. Gender stereotypes teach boys not to express their emotions and tell girls to be nice and obedient and to care about their appearance," close quote. And although I don't wish to address anything they have written against male traditional roles or stereotypes, since I only want to focus on the girl part, I would like to say that I agree with what they have said as stereotypes, but I would see it in a positive light, and that's what I came to argue about. I wanted to discredit this opinion. So my thesis statement, the thesis statement I researched on, was traditional womanhood can only have a positive impact on a society. This is supported with 3 proofs. First of all, traditional womanhood causes well-grounded homes, which furthermore produces well-grounded individuals. Studies by the Institute for Family Studies and the National Library of Medicine show an improvement of mental health and level of education or school grades as being evident when a child is growing up in a home with a stay-at-home parent, a mother. Secondly, traditional womanhood solves societal problems and saves lives. This proof sort of goes hand in hand with the last one, because what happens in one home, if there is bad mental health in one home for one child, as well as many others, this becomes a societal problem, a national problem. And traditional womanhood acts as a bulwark against that. Thirdly, traditional womanhood is the fulfillment of what a woman is made to be. God said it's not good for the man to be alone, and he made a completely different creature from Adam to live with Adam and gave her a role, a job, and a purpose that involves caring for the life around her and creating a beautiful, functioning environment for that life to flourish. He also says, God says in Psalm 104:31, that the Lord takes pleasure in everything he's made. So he made woman for a different role. He took pleasure in creating woman, and he gave her a purpose. Some people say that traditional womanhood prohibits women from their true potential and is archaic and outdated. But a woman is not wasted of her potential when she thrives and exists as the most valuable asset in her home, and not simply another worker in a corporate setting that can be easily replaced. Traditional womanhood is not outdated because, as was explained in the first 2 proofs, there are many societal and individual problems caused by a lack of nurturing and attention in the home when a child is young, and these are contemporary problems that are only getting worse, not better, right now. Overall, as you can tell, this was an extremely personal topic to me, and the research has helped me further solidify my opinion on not only my identity, but the truth that is revealed in the Bible all the way back in the beginning of the world in Genesis. It's a message that I wish was shared with so many young women, since they are peer pressured or simply told that being a mother or staying at home is this undesirable, pitiable aspiration, and that it will leave them feeling pointless or regretful, because truth is statistics have shown that women are happier when they're married and mothers of children. The Bible talks about the Proverbs 31 woman and calls her blessed. And I'm so happy that there is a way that I and any other woman can be completely fulfilled in life and also honor God. It's something that should never be belittled or forgotten. Thank you for listening.
did a great job. Your paper resonated with me not because I'm a stay-at-home mom, but because in hindsight, I wish we would have figured out how to make that happen, and I would definitely encourage my girls to consider staying at home and being home for their family, for their children, because of all of your defenses and groups. I've thought about it before, but especially after reading the paper, it's more convicting. My question, what was the most valuable thing you learned about all of the research you did?
Just that it's women sort of grow up now, young women sort of grow up with a career as like the only option, and that they live their life without ever thinking about what they were actually created to do, and just seeing the benefits, like not just in happiness, but what that can spread to a whole nation, and that fixes so many problems that I didn't realize were connected to, a mom staying at home. Like there's just a bigger picture you don't really see when you're just at home doing laundry, doing dishes, and changing diapers, But there's a big picture that you don't really see. Yeah.
Could you restate your thesis for me? I just want to make sure I found it.
Traditional womanhood can only have a positive impact on a society.
Also, could you define heterogeneous? It was in your,
Do you know what page?
yeah, it's on page 4 in the third paragraph, third sentence. The difference was heterogeneous and a different age. That sentence.
Third paragraph. Oh, okay. I don't know the definition.
Okay, all right, that's okay. I didn't either. I'm good. Okay.
I'd like to say I really like the way you organize the paper. You start out with an introduction that talked about there's many opinions, but this is important because it impacts society as a whole, what the role of women is. And then you did a background of feminism and said how we're in the fourth wave. You quoted Martha Rampton, which Wikipedia also quotes, who wrote the 4 waves of feminism. And I was curious, I'll ask it later, but what she would think if she read this paper. Then you went into the purpose and goal, which is a statement to give evidence and to prove that traditional womanhood can only have a positive impact. And when I read that, I come from the world of research, and proof is a very high standard. So I'm assuming, I took that to mean that the purpose of the paper is to provide evidence and arguments that show that proving it more like a courtroom kind of the preponderance of evidence is on this side rather than on that side. And then when you said can only have a positive impact, I took that to mean that it's overall a positive effect, not that there were no problems or negatives. So did I get that right? Because I'm trying to look at it.
I mean, and this is
from my world.
I also wanted to find that, like in the third proof, I use a lot of my sources are from the Bible, because I wanted to say that this is a true traditional womanhood. This isn't an aesthetic or like the trad life trend. It's it comes from the Bible. It comes from God, so it has a weight. It has a purpose. There's truth backing up traditional womanhood. It's not because certain personalities are inclined to do that, or because certain things are better. It's because it comes from God, and it's something that He's commanded. It's something that He's stated. Yeah.
That brings up another question, if you don't mind me.
Go for it.
Twice. It wasn't clear until the very end what you meant by well-grounded homes. I originally, all throughout the paper, read that to mean homes guided by ethical and moral values that promote a functional, caring, stable, nuclear family with parents that are more engaged in their kids' education and physical and mental health and social interaction that promotes good, grounded, good well-being towards others. And but at the end of the book, it seemed that well-grounded means grounded in knowing God through the Bible and living to please God. That's what.
That's ultimately what I was aiming at. But when you do that, there's also benefits like mental health and lower suicide rates, lower mental illness in a country, things like that. And those are benefits of already doing things that God said.
Okay.
I'm curious, this is a hot topic, so I thought that was really cool that you were going head first into it. I'm curious if in doing all of this research, if there were things that you found you would like to explore further that you weren't really able to address in this paper.
Let me think.
Or even things you did address that maybe would have liked to have spent more time on.
Oh yeah, there was actually, I didn't realize until I sort of finished it that I have a very broad overview of the topic, and because the implications of one woman being at home with just her kids are a lot bigger than it seems. And so maybe I would have liked to dive down into more of the causes of a lot of societal problems and try to connect them more to things that happen at home, I guess.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
I liked how your evidence was building with the two parents greater than the non-intact family, and then stay-at-home parent greater than working parent, and all the things that come because of that. And then happiness of the mother, and then bam, Proverbs 31. I thought that was great. I loved it. I wish in the beginning that I was making comments and thinking, ultimately, what Charlie said at the end, it's the godly woman, the godly mother, the woman who can rightly guide their child through all the different things is greater than the worldly mom who stays at home. What are your thoughts on well, I guess I should say, I wish that we maybe would have brought the godly part in the beginning. But I thought it was great how you closed it up in the end.
I did it on purpose actually, because I thought that the third proof was going to be the most impactful proof, and I think that's the biggest proof too. And I put that on the end on purpose because I wanted that sort of to hit hardest at the end. That was on purpose. Do you think it would have been better to?
No. I mean, it definitely did what you were hoping for. So I thought that's great.
Why do you suppose it's so controversial?
Because it's a topic that's super wrapped up in identity. Like there's been so much effort put into the women's suffrage movement, feminism, and traditional womanhood alike. It's something that people are. It's not just a hobby or it's wrapped up in identity, and that's why if you're attacking someone's identity or saying that what they are isn't what they should be, of course it's gonna flare some emotions.
I was surprised and I thought it was very cool that you used some bloggers as sources. I believe they were bloggers, the people that you quoted, the ladies that you quoted, about how disgusted they were. And how Now, after I read that, I was thinking, but their objections are overcome by Proverbs 31, because they say the woman can't be independent, she's a slave, and Proverbs talks about, she's doing all this stuff on her own, and women should have their own money. Well, it clearly says she bought a field for herself. So it wasn't, that's a ridiculous argument in that case.
I just want to say that my argument isn't that women don't have the ability to work or shouldn't work, but that their focus or their main priority happens inside their house, not outside. And so, as you can see, the Proverbs 31 woman, even though she is extremely capable, her life is at home. And it's not a bad thing, because as you can see, she's very successful too. That's what I mean. It's not that women can't work, but that it's the priorities have to be different than economic priorities.
Right, exactly.
I found the percentages you came up with intact homes based on that boomer generation. They were 26%, and then by the millennials and snatchers, that's less than half. And the correlation fundamentally was what influenced our culture from that time to this, that there is a correlation. And I found that extremely interesting, as well as the happiness meter. Like, that sounds superficial when you first think, oh, happiness, and I like how you address it at the end, and it's not just about happiness, let's feel happy. That, the more fulfilled woman was the woman who was nurturing, that was living out the role she was designed to. So I thought that was very well expressed and defined. I'm curious, as this is obviously personal to you, like you said, it's a big thing for, that's really important to you. Are there things that you, how do you plan to get that message out? How do you plan to further, look at this and speak out about it? Or do you plan to do that?
Well, like I said in my speech here, that's my dream job, and so I think just living that is a testimony, and so people will see me not doing the things that a lot of women are told to do, the norm. I won't be doing those things, and I think that's enough to at least get some attention or be asked questions. I don't know if that means I'm ever gonna write a book about it in the future, but
Do you foresee yourself researching it any further to see?
probably. We just had a road trip recently, and we were listening to a lady named Rosario Butterfield, and she has a lot of very helpful books for women in general. Yeah, and so things like that, like listening to books like that in the future. Yeah.
Who's your target audience for this? Obviously, someone like Martha Rampton, who's head of the Gender Studies program at Pacific College in Oregon, is a left-wing liberal, and she would just dismiss all of it, I would think. Who would benefit from what you wrote, do you think? Who are you aiming this at?
The people that would benefit most from this message would be girls my age. But I think everyone needs to hear it, because it affects more than women my age. It's like I said, it's a societal thing, and so it's helpful for everyone to know that, to know why things are the way they are, why they aren't other ways, and why it's helpful, why traditional women is helpful.
So it's not just Christians. It's not a one-size-fits-all for everybody should fit this mold, or is it? Is that you're saying that it's for a message for all of society, but then, like I said, the left-wing liberals would just dismiss this on the Bible, and they would go back to the arguments that you can't watch a Jane Austen movie without feeling empathy for woman being trapped and having very few options when life is negative in a man's world, so to speak, you know, so what would general society, what would they get out of this?
So I wrote this, so I did say it's most important to women my age, but like I said, I didn't do anything, I didn't talk about traditional men's roles because I thought that, I mean, I can research on, but if I was gonna make like a formal essay about it, I didn't really think it was my place to talk about that, so I only talked about, you know, the female side of it. But things that happen when like in my refutation where I talked about women being treated less in like a patriarchal society or being abused, that is not traditional womanhood's fault. That's bad people doing bad things.
Yeah, that was the one sentence where you addressed abuse, and you said, well, that doesn't mean the design is at fault, it's that individual, but it didn't, the women's movement would cite all these statistics of which you didn't have in their reputation of abuse and divorce and this victimhood, but they have all these statistics on victims of traditional marriages when women are abused and had no job skills or didn't know options because they were just this stay-at-home mom that was treated like a slave or worse, physically or emotionally abused. But the model you present, I totally agree with, but it seems like it's dependent on this husband being submissive to the Lord with sacrificial love, caring for the family, and the wife submissive to the leadership of the husband, working as a team, as one flesh, and all working for the good of the family, which leads to the good of society. That's the ideal model, and I agree with it. But there's like almost not as many divorces and problems in Christian families as there are in non-Christian families. And I was wondering if there's part of the model that allowed for resolutions of these problems.
That God is the center of those relationships, and if that's there, then if people can love God well, they'll be able to love each other well. Is that a good answer?
Well, I mean, ideally, that's what people were striving for with the marriages, but they failed, and some even go to get Christian counseling, and then they end up, this isn't working, and it's just dysfunctional, and then a detached family, and the kids suffer and all that. But that seems like it would be a flaw in the traditional family in a fallen world. I just wonder if you have some idea how you would deal with that in the traditional family model that you're proposing as the only solution, only positive effects. That's where I have trouble, because that was your thesis, that it only has positive effects on society. And I see that the feminists have negative effects that they think it has, and they just play those up beyond the positives.
And then I just focus on like the ideal, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
That this couple that is having problems, that they are in the middle of a community of people that care about them. And so now it sounds like I'm talking about a church, because that would be the community ideally. It's kind of tricky. I haven't thought about that.
sounds like you're saying that you need an extended family support network to make this work as well.
Yeah. That is
In
what
some
I'm saying.
cases.
To be there, to be people that care, that would hold these people accountable, things like that. And that just, it's kind of just sounds like a church now. I don't think I know how to step outside of that. I have to think about it.
Well, we need, like you said, accountability, right? And people to point people back to put Christ in the center of the relationship, and remind them that's what they committed to. You mentioned that attachment theory and how we need bonding, but also then that learning the bonding from the parents extends even deeper to broader, what do you call it, well-grounded kids that are bonded, elsewhere, that have they're socially adjusted. So you need this support group. Well, I think you made a good case that's part of it. Anyway, I just thought that you could have addressed the victim of abuse, a few options for women that are just devoted to home and all that, a little bit more on the refutation side. That's all.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You spent some time on anxiety, correlating that maybe an increase in anxiety could be due to the lack of connectedness or others. I agree that the culture of the world alone can be the culture of increased anxiety, especially for the state anxiety. The trait anxiety that you mentioned as well, I think that's sometimes can be a bit increased. A mom who can rightly attend to her child with anxiety is really helpful, but sometimes a mom's attention might not just not be enough for some of the trait anxiety. What did you learn, or what sources were you looking at as far as anxiety and how that traditional mom can help with anxiety?
What are my sources for that?
What are your or what did you learn, or what's your takeaway as far as anxiety?
That anxiety, if we're not talking about like a certain disorder, but general anxiety, that it's those things are burdens that can be helped if there's just someone else there. And so that could be like a friend or whatever. Why I said specifically women is because a mom knows her kids. A mom is going to be there for her kids all the time if she's a stay-at-home parent. She'll be in the same house as them. And she'll see things the way other people don't see them. She'll be able to attend to that person better if she actually cares about her kids.
What do you think Christian women should do practically when they're confronted by these objections to their traditional?
For the pro-feminist side, that they should go back to what God said at the very beginning, that women are a help, that they are going to be, that they're going to follow the man and help, that their purpose is to glorify God through giving love to people. And so that's kind of like the very base, that it wasn't good for Adam to be alone, so he created Eve, and she was there to love him and to be with him. And so just taking that and then letting that grow, you see where that goes into a family and into a home.
I'm thinking maybe it's like Jonathan said about the songs, just avoid the issue. If you can, stay away from those people that are going to challenge you.
Because it feeds off of a lot of discontentment and a very independent spirit. Not that being independent is wrong, but that being of a mother is to put yourself after other people. And when you're wrapped up in your independence, it's always going to be you first. And I think a lot of feminism will feed into a discontentment or pride in women and say, look what you're missing out on. And you'll see, like I said, like washing dishes and changing diapers. They're gonna look at that. Of course, it's not a super fun thing to do, but if it's all you focus on, of course you're gonna be discontent because you're only looking at those things and not looking at the person growing in your house with an eternal soul. You know?
So they could come right back and say, your contribution is valuable. So maybe even more valuable than corporate. The growth of society and the future. Amen.
I wanted,
Sorry, one more question?
one more question, can it be a statement?
Yeah.
Statement-ish question? I asked all my questions. I just wanted to say, first of all, this is a highly emotionally charged, conversation. And I really appreciate you tackling it. I want to just say that I love how you use Proverbs 31, and I would encourage you to, that's a really good baseline. There's historically things that led to the feminist movement, and understanding mistakes that were made in the past, and being able to understand how we got where we are. There are some valid arguments that feminists make, but they're poorly defended. And I just want to, I love that your heart is there. I think you defined things well. I think you gave a lot of really great information. I would encourage you to continue to learn more and understand how we got where we are. It's like everything, right? We're in this really tumultuous time in our culture, and just understanding and defining how did we get here is a good way to move forward. But this is very well written and very, you did a good job. Thank you so much for taking that on.
Thank you.
Yes.